Today we're going to make an optical illusion. Start with a line that goes from one side of your page to the other. It can be wiggly, but don't make it too wiggly. Then put about 6 to 8 dots on that line. Don't make them too big and don't make them too close together. Next, get your Sharpie and you're going to leapfrog from the very end of the line to the first dot to the next dot, and you're going to keep going until you've touched all of the dots. Do the same thing on the other side of the line. Now, starting with one of the little bumps, you're going to grow those bumps on top of each other, almost like you're stacking plates or bowls. Just keep growing. You can actually have them move as you go. If you start to angle your curves to one direction, maybe make them bigger or smaller, you can actually make it look like it's going up or down. Just keep growing those little lines back and forth until you get to the edge of the page. Now, once you're done with that, you can find another section. It doesn't have to be right next to it, but it can be, to get the next section to grow. You can have them touch, so it looks as though these lines are actually touching each other. I like to think of these as roots of a tree. That's what they look like to me. You can think of whatever you want for these. I'm going to have this one go underneath, so I'm going to continue it on the other side so that it looks like it's going underneath the first one. Take your time with this process, especially at the beginning when you're just kind of getting the hang of stacking these lines on top of one another. You can see I left a space in between these two so they look like they're separate entities. Okay, now you can find a new section to make grow and continue one little section at a time before you go to another one. It can be from the bottom, it can be from the top, they can crisscross over each other. You decide what they're gonna do. It's a lot of fun to experiment. You can make them twist. I've even seen them braided. I've seen them go from one side of the page to the other. You get to decide where these things go. Like I said, almost as if they're roots of a tree growing independently of each other, but also together at the same time. Here I'm going to start to get them to twist over one another. So I do part of one section, and then I start on the section next to it, and I have to get that section to curve over the first section, so it looks like it's twisting over the top. Once I finish that portion, I can go underneath it with the other section. And from there, I'm going to have another part of the other section twist over it, so I have to kind of go in the same direction as the sections before it. So those ones were kind of going to the right, so I'm going to have the next section also go to the right. It's easier for me to twist my page so I can see it better. But there, the touching the one that's going underneath it, but this is the one that's twisting around it now. So then the one underneath will continue underneath. It'll kind of peek through. So now they're twisted. Kind of fun. Now that I'm done with my sections, I'm going to erase that original pencil line. I don't need that any longer. And then I'm going to get my colored pencils handy too, because we'll start coloring. Okay, I'm going to start with just one color and make one of my roots one color. I'm adding value in, so in order to do that, I'm going down the side of one of those roots, and I'm starting with the harder pressure. I'm pushing harder with my colored pencil, and only a section of my root on the edge is being colored. That's going to be the darkest area towards the edges, so I'm going to do that on both sides of this root, and then I'll show you what to do in the center. Now I'm going to start pushing lighter with the same colored pencil, and I'm going to bring it into the center more of the root so that it starts to look lighter and adding in more value. Now I'm going to take that same colored pencil and go over the entire thing, but barely pushing it all, just enough to get a little bit of the color to show so that it stays light in the center. I'm going to repeat this now for every single one of my roots, making it darker on the edges and lighter on the inside. I can change the colors if I want to, or I can have them all be the same. For some of my darker colors and even the lighter ones, I'm going to go in with a slightly darker color on the very edges just to accentuate some of that value a little bit more, make the darks even darker. It makes a big difference. You can see on this one here how the purple really stands out when it's even darker on those edges. I chose to make my background dark. You can really do whatever you want for your background. So I'm filling in the sections in between the roots with Sharpie. Again, you can decide what you want to do for that. Maybe you just want to use one plain color in the background. Your choice. All done.